All right, well, we mentioned earlier a Saudi oil refinery has been targeted by an Iranian drone attack. The kingdom has shut its biggest domestic oil refinery as a precaution. Saudi Arabia's defense ministry said 2 drones tried to strike Aramco's Ras Tanura facility, but were intercepted. It added that falling debris caused a limited fire there. It's one of the biggest plants in the world, producing more than 500,000 barrels per day. All right, let's bring in economist and oil and gas specialist Cornelia Meyer. She's the CEO of Meyer Resources, joining us now from London. So look, we have been talking all morning about these strikes on these oil facilities in the Gulf, in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, and now also some indication that there has also been potentially damage to facilities or to a facility here in Qatar. I just wonder, in terms of the global oil market, how big of a deal is this?
Well, it's a big deal because, you know, the GCC and the wider region is sort of one of the major hydrocarbon provinces. And when we look at Qatar, LNG, and it's an LNG, it's an LNG facility, LNG export facility that is rumored to be targeted. Qatar is the 3rd largest exporter of LNG, so it really does matter. It especially matters to Europe, which wants to wean itself off the Russian LNG and wants Qatari LNG and US LNG. So it does matter, and obviously, if you strike the biggest refining complex in the world, that does matter, but that is more sort of for domestic purposes. But what's really the big thing here is, when can ships safely pass through the Straits of Hormuz again? Because if you look at oil, crude and products together, 20% have to go through the Strait of Hormuz, and if you look at LNG, 20% have to go to the Straits of Hormuz. Oil, it's Asia that's affected. LNG, it's Europe that's affected.
So can you just touch on how this is going to impact the United States? Obviously, President Trump, has really talked a lot about gas prices for Americans. Oil prices are set on the international markets, even though the United States is energy independent. Surely this is going to have an impact on American markets as well.
It does have. Look, crude oil is the commodity that's the most globally priced and globally traded commodity. So if the global indices for, you know, WTI, Brent and so go up, it obviously also goes up in the US. So Americans will feel it at the pump. It does really also impact. It does impact countries like China, because China is about 10% of China's crude imports come from Iran. 38% of all the oil going through the Straits of Hormuz go to China. So China and also other Asian countries are very much affected as well.
Do you have a sense of how resilient these oil facilities are in the Gulf? And what I mean by that is, how well protected are they? How spread out are they? And how easily the Iranians could cause huge amounts of damage?
I think they're quite well protected. If I look at KSA, they're quite well protected. They had oil facilities struck a few years back by the Houthis, which actually made them really beef up their defenses. They're quite well protected. Let's not forget, KSA has averted several attacks above Riyadh and also above the eastern province, which is the oil producing province of the kingdom. So they're quite well protected. But you know, the thing with these things is, if there's 100 missiles or drones launched and you shoot down 99, they have a 99% protection. The one that gets through still gives damage.
All right, Cornelia Meyer, CEO of Meyer Resources, joining us from London. Thank you for your insight. We appreciate it.